This is eNews Weekend Edition, and we're live from Johannesburg. I'm Colin Gambi. These are your headlines. Eskom upgrades load shedding to stage 4, shifting the blame on plant breakdowns and loss of Mozambique imports. The DA unveils its candidate list for Parliament, vowing it will curb the ANC's national majority rule. We begin here. South Africa is once again in the dark. Eskom implemented stage 4 load shedding just after 12 o'clock today, and rolling blackouts are set to continue on Sunday. The power utility blames the shortage of generation capacity on plant breakdowns and the loss of Mozambique imports. The risk of load shedding remains high until Wednesday. The power utility has appealed to residents and businesses to use electricity sparingly. Our reporter Yanke Tolme has more.
Even though South Africans expected some power cuts this weekend, they didn't expect this. Stage 4 load shedding was implemented this afternoon, leaving many parts of the country in the dark for hours. Now, this left more South Africans frustrated, with some facing dark traffic lights and others who own small businesses having to close their doors early. Now, I've spoken to some people who said they feel frustrated and betrayed because they're still paying for their electricity, yet they often do not have any lights at home. It's also interesting the fact that a lot of people are linking it to the 8th of May, and they say that they will remember this weekend when they go to cast their votes. Yanke Tolme, Greenstone.
The Democratic Alliance says it's going into this year's elections mainly to lower the ANC's national majority to below 60%. The party is hoping to retain the Western Cape and at the same time reduce the ANC's hold on Gauteng and the Northern Cape. Now, the opposition party made its candidate list public in Johannesburg today. The usual suspects, Musi Maimane, John Steenhuisen, Natasha Mazone and James Self, made the cut. However, former party leader and current Western Cape Premier Helen Zille did not. Moloko Moloto has that story.
By its own admission, the DA doesn't believe it stands a chance to wrest the ANC of power in this year's elections. So, why should voters bet on a team that's already conceded defeat even before match day?
South Africa.
The DA may be known for its objection to BEE and affirmative action, but the party says race had to be factored in during the selection of its candidates this time around.
So the initial selection of candidates is always on a merit basis. There is the opportunity for selection panels to change, to recommend changes to the lists based on compelling reasons. Most selection panels did so.
The party insists its candidates are the most diverse in comparison to those of other parties. 2 candidates were disqualified from the process. One didn't fill in the acceptance form, while the other candidate allegedly violated the party's social media policy. That candidate is now challenging his list exclusion in the Western Cape High Court.
Yeah, thank you.
Moloko Moloto, Bruma, Johannesburg.
Staying with politics, the EFF has also released its party's candidate list for Parliament this week. And while the usual expected names were there was one surprise appearance. Musician Ringo Madlingozi. Madlingozi made it to number 39 on the Red Berets list. The man dubbed the People's Advocate, Dali Mpofu, will also be heading to Parliament. His name is number 3 on the EFF's parliamentary list. Mpofu says he'll work on fixing South African legislation rather than waiting for a case to land on his desk.
In my view, it's much more important. If you really are in it for justice, which I am, then it would have much more impact to change laws, to change the conditions of people, than to just wait for a particular case which may or may never come.
On to this now. Deputy President David Mabuza says government is fast-tracking the redistribution of land to its rightful owners. He officiated at the handover of title deeds to the Ubizo community outside Mpangeni in KwaZulu-Natal. Over 800 people, the majority of them women, benefited from the program. Tuba Vilane was there.
joy and happiness as land returns to its rightful owners. The community filed the claim for the return of its land back in 1995, and 24 years later, their dignity has been restored. For this community, their wish is to continue plowing the land.
Currently, as the land has been leased to Tongati Utility, they will continue producing sugarcane and contributing about 10% of their benefits into the CPA fund, community fund, so to say.
The over 2,500 hectares of agricultural land produces 100,000 tons of sugarcane a year. Its assets are valued around 136 million rand.
What is missing? It's a comprehensive support this community. This community must move out of poverty. Land is your wealth.
Government is committed to continue working with the community to ensure that they keep this land productive. Tuba Vilane, Empangeni, KwaZulu-Natal.
Disgruntled members of the South African Police Service have formed a new workers' union. They're threatening to down tools on Monday. The group is unhappy about recent promotions and claims that many experienced officers are being overlooked for promotions. Artem Tongana has more on this story.
I'm a sergeant for 12 years now. Oh, 12 years now. I'm still a sergeant. But you can see the new people from college, only 1 year or 2 years, they got promotion. What about us?
We're not angry over the people that got promoted. We're angry over the process that is being followed. Yes. If I am employed by the police in 2010, yes, I want the person who was here 2009 to be promoted before me.
These are just some of the issues raised by members of the South African Police Service at a mass meeting. These men and women will be joining the newly formed South African Police and Allied Workers Union.
This emanated from the agreement of 2018 that was signed by the majority union. And we as members, we were never part of that. We were not informed. Many members were not mentioned on that document.
The union claims it's written to the Minister, Deputy Minister and National Police Commissioner, but is yet to receive a response. The leadership of the newly formed union, representing some members of the South African Police Service, is not ruling out the likelihood of a strike.
If masses want that, it's high time that we go to the street. We know everything. We know the rules of the police. We've been in this service for quite a long time. But now, the Minister and the National Commissioner has pushed us towards the wall. We don't have any choice but to bounce, and we are going to bounce.
Artem Tongana, Cape Town.
On to this story now. The family of Buhle Pengu, who died in the Bahamas last month, will now head to the island to receive her ashes. The country had refused to repatriate her body, saying she died of TB and it was concerned about spreading the disease. The South African government has stepped in to provide consular support from its Jamaican embassy. Kailihle Khumalo has more on this story.
A bubbly and special soul. That's how Buhle Pengu's bereaved family has described her. The 29-year-old's passing has left her relatives gutted, especially since she died in the Caribbean islands, over 13,000 kilometers away from home in Durban. What's more, she was a breadwinner.
She was a very, very happy person and a very loving and caring person.
It's been a struggle getting Pengu's mortal remains back to South Africa. Her next of kin have reluctantly agreed she can be cremated in the Bahamas, following failed attempts to have her body released.
It was really a hard decision to reach, even though we as a family, we are not really satisfied. But due to the situation and the points they've given us, we had no choice than to go on with the cremation.
The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has been roped in.
When you pass on in another country, there are a lot of international laws. There are a lot of international health regulations that then comes into play. And we as a government, Minister has now instructed that one of the first priority in the financial year will be to educate South Africans.
For many, the Bahamas is a relaxing holiday destination, but for the Bengu family, it's going to be a bittersweet experience as they plan heading to the island nation on Saturday to fetch Busle's ashes and finally bring her back home. Kylie Kumalo, Kempton Park.
Still to come. An Australian senator pays the price for his racist remarks. This is eNews Weekend Edition. Welcome back. Now, here's a question. Have you ever wondered what happens to children under the age of 18 when they commit crimes? A number of shootings, stabbings, and alleged rapes have taken place in schools so far this year. Just this week, a 13-year-old was one of those arrested in connection with the murder of a fellow pupil. Yanke Tome takes a look.
3 suspects were arrested for killing a 19-year-old pupil here. 2 are 15 and 1 is only 13 years old. To protect the rights of children once arrested, they're placed into 3 categories. Those under age 10 cannot be held criminally liable. Age 10 to 14 are presumed not criminally liable unless proven otherwise. Over 14 up until 18 can be held criminally liable and can be prosecuted in normal courts. Legal Aid South Africa says these age classifications, which state when children may receive special treatment, are accepted worldwide. For example, detention should be a last resort and only for the shortest time possible.
Circumstances may dictate that a child should be kept at a residential facility for different reasons. Obviously, sometimes the more serious the offense, the more it may sway a court to say that a child should be kept at a residential facility.
Sentencing options include counselling, fines or correctional supervision. If children are placed in youth care centres, they're kept separate from adults and the aim is to rehabilitate. If a child turns 18 while still at the youth care centre, they can be moved into a normal prison. Yanke Tome, Johannesburg.
Moving further afield now, and Cyclone Idai has been downgraded, but it's forecast that heavy rain will continue to wreak havoc in Beira and surrounding areas until Sunday. The United Nations says over 100 people have already died after weeks of heavy rain and flooding in Mozambique and Malawi. Meteorologist Anika De Beer has more on the region's weather.
Intense tropical cyclone Idai made landfall on Thursday evening along the coastline of Mozambique near Beira. Wind speeds of 170 kilometers per hour as well as heavy rainfall and extensive flooding has since been reported. These images were taken in Beira yesterday and it shows extensive damage to some of the buildings as well as trees being uprooted in the very strong winds. This system is now referred to as ex-Idai as it is not tropical cyclone strength anymore. However, it still continues to cause a lot of rainfall in Mozambique and now also in parts of Zimbabwe as the low pressure system continues to move westwards.
More news from beyond our borders now, and New Zealanders have gathered to pay tribute to victims of the mosque shootings. Led by Albany Peseta, crowds prayed for strength to help New Zealand recover after its deadliest mass shootings in history. The incident claimed at least 49 lives and left scores more injured. 4 people have been taken in for questioning. Meanwhile, in Australia, a senator whose controversial statement on the New Zealand mosque attacks caused outrage has been left with egg on his face, literally. Fraser Anning blamed yesterday's deadly shooting, which killed 49 people, on Muslim immigration. He said Muslims are usually the ones who kill in the name of faith. Now, during a briefing in Melbourne today, a young man slapped Anning with an egg on his head. In footage of the incident, the angry senator could be seen hitting the man before being restrained. Now, police were called in and the protester was arrested before being released without charge. And after the break, we'll have your weather details.
Hello everyone. Here in the Weather Centre, we're still closely monitoring the low pressure system that was once Tropical Cyclone Idai. And this low is located on the border between Zimbabwe and Mozambique, and it's producing very heavy rainfall over this region. And it looks as though the low stays pretty much in place for the next 24 hours, which means that there will be more heavy rain and flooding likely across this region. Over South Africa, it was a settled start to the weekend with just a few thunder showers developing over parts of the Cape Provinces, the Free State and KwaZulu-Natal. We're going to have cloud cover moving in along the western and south coasts of the country overnight, so a cloudy start to Sunday for those areas, as well as along the eastern escarpment. And then it will be partly cloudy for the afternoon for most places, with a few thunder showers over the interior. And then towards the evening, some light rain will be possible around Hermanus and Cape Agulhas. Let's take a look at your detailed city forecast. In the Northern Cape, it's going to be a very hot day for many areas. Uppington starts the day off at 24 degrees and climbs to 39 for the afternoon. A cloudy start to Sunday for the coastal parts of the Western Cape, becoming partly cloudy later. And then for the Eastern Cape, there'll be thunder showers over the interior of the province, where we also expect some very high temperatures, 36 in Graaff-Reinet. Crossing over into KwaZulu-Natal, thunderstorms mostly for the interior of the province. Be on the lookout for some of those storms could become quite strong. We're going to also have a few patchy thunder showers on the Mpumalanga Highveld, and some of those thunderstorms could also develop around Tabazimbi and Bela in Limpopo, while we could also have a few showers in the eastern parts, mostly in the morning. It's going to be a hot Sunday in the northwest, with Mahikeng reaching a high of 35 degrees, and a few isolated thunder showers extend from that province into the Free State, where it's also going to be a hot afternoon. And finally, for Gauteng, there is a 40% chance of thunder showers for your area later, and a very hot day expected in the province, with temperatures climbing above 30. Let's take a look at what Monday brings to your parts of South Africa, and there will be a few thunder showers once again in the northern and eastern parts, and then the area of thunder shower activity shrinks into Tuesday, but still includes Gauteng and Mpumalanga and the KZN interior. That's all from the Weather Centre. Goodbye for now.
And in our last story, the Johannesburg International Comedy Festival promises to leave audiences in stitches. Now, the event features well-known comedians like Kagiso Letija, Loyiso Gola, as well as international acts like the United Kingdom's Tom Horton and the UAE's Ali Al Said. Our reporter, Didiro Slepe, has those details.
The Rainbow Nation that provides a colorful content for comedians. Many times, the content writes itself. They stay capture, resurrections, and a whole lot more. And with the Johannesburg International Comedy Festival here, ENCA got a take of comedians on what they would do if they were offered the Busasa loot.
So what are you going to do if Busasa comes with a bag of cash? What are you going to do? What are you going to do, people at home? Huh? You're going to say, no, I give 1 million, I give just to sign a thing and do a... I understand. You needed money for data, you needed money for school fees, you needed to pay the mortgage, and Busasa came and said, why not? Yeah, I wouldn't take it, but you should.
The Busasa thing, it surprised everybody, you know what I mean? And how Agrizi just came and just told everything. That was something new for black people, because we all grow up thinking, don't snitch. Don't snitch. The next thing, this guy just came on, is like, I'm telling even the things that you don't ask me about. I'm telling everything, you know what I mean?
The festival continues until Saturday at the Joburg Theatre. Dieter Oslepe, Johannesburg.
Would you take the money? Let's remind you of our main story here on eNews. Eskom upgrades load shedding to stage 4. And that's it from me and the team. Good night.